Endotracheal intubation is introduction of a tube through the mouth or nose into the trachea to secure open airways. It is done in cases of respiratory failure as in hypoxia, hypercapnia, tachypnea or apnea that is ARDS, asthma, pulmonary edema, infection or COPD exacerbation. This could be done in cases of a cardiac arrest or for maintenance or protection of an intact airway or for medication administration like certain bronchodilators. Now, what are the advantages of doing this procedure? An ET tube provides access to the tracheobronchial tree for ventilation or for suctioning of certain secretions. An ET tube maintains a patent airway and it guides in further obstruction. A cuffed ET tube protects the airway from aspiration. ET tube does not cause gastric distension and associated danger of regurgitation, while an ET tube also enables the delivery of certain aerosolized medications as mentioned earlier. For performing an endotracheal intubation to facilitate the supply of 100% oxygen, you'll require the following materials. A bag valve device with positive end expiratory pressure to maintain the patient's airway pressure above the atmospheric level by exerting pressure that opposes passive emptying of lung. An end tidal CO2 detector, a suction catheter or a Yankees apparatus, a stylet which is highly recommended in a non-elective intubation, pair of McGill forceps which would prove helpful if something is blocking the airways since it is blunt at the ends and shaped just like one's trachea. You could also use them to lift a patient's tongue sometimes. A laryngoscope handle and blades. Mostly used is a Macintosh or a curved blade, but at times even McCoy or Miller, which is a straight blade, could be used. An ET tube. Make sure to have one tube larger and one smaller than the estimated size. Tongue depressors, lidocaine, syringe for cuff inflation, supplies for vasoconstriction and local anesthesia, tincture of benzoin, and a stethoscope for final auscultation. Now let us learn about the ET tube briefly. An endotracheal tube is a long, curved, hollow plastic tube which comes in various sizes. 2.5 to 10 mm is the average inner diameter, while it ranges from 8 to 8.5 mm for males and approximately 7 mm in case of female. It is used to provide a definitive airway, and the indications are emergency, for example, a cardiac arrest or a respiratory arrest, or otherwise elective, that is for introduction of medications like general anesthetics for patient undergoing surgical procedure or for administration of certain bronchodilators. Earlier used ET tubes were made up of latex material but are now being replaced by plastic ones because they are softer, disposable, less irritant, and hypoallergic. And since they are also of a transparent material, there is easy visualization. Let us look at the components of an ET tube. Proximally, there is an adapter which connects to the ventilator or the ambulatory mechanical breathing unit, so-called AMBU bag. Centrally, there is a vocal cord reference mark, which is a black line, and that should be placed at the opening of the vocal cord so that the tip of the ET tube places automatically above the bifurcation of trachea. There is also a radio-opaque marker which helps in accurate visualization of the tube in X-ray imaging. There is a cuff, and this acts as a seal against the tracheal wall, and also it prevents any other matter to enter into the trachea. To inflate the cuff, take a syringe and push 15 ml of air into the pilot balloon, which has a one-way valve, so that we could easily assess if the cuff is leaking or not, because if that happens, the pilot balloon will collapse for sure. At the distal end, there is a left-facing bevel with Murphy's eye, so that even if the inlet gets blocked via pus or blood, the gas flow would still persist due to Murphy's eye in order to avoid total occlusion of the ET tube. According to the presence or absence of a cuff, ET tubes are classified as cuffed or uncuffed ones. Cuffed ones are used in patients above 8 years of age so that it keeps the ET tube aligned and prevents aspiration of gastrointestinal and respiratory contents, while an uncuffed one is used in children below 8 years of age since the subglottic area is narrower in them and it acts as a natural seal for the ET tube. Make sure that you have knowledge about the key anatomical landmarks before moving on to intubation. The landmarks are the epiglottis, vallecula, arytenoid or the posterior cartilages, hairy epiglottic fold, vocal cord, and the glottic opening. Differentiating the glottic opening from the esophagus is quite critical. Remember, the vocal cords are abducted to breathe and they are adducted to speak. always have this pre-procedure optimization before intubating a patient. A positive airway pressure may reduce venous return and preload. Be careful to ensure that the patient has had adequate fluid resuscitation and is hemodynamically supported to the extent feasible prior to intubation. With the exception of crash airways, the use of medications like rocuronium and etomidate is highly recommended to decrease the risk of airway trauma from patient movement and agitation, and it also increases the likelihood of a successful intubation. Vagolytics like atropine, sedatives like midazolam, and paralytics like vancuronium may also be used as a pre-medication. Now let us look at the steps involved in order to perform a successful intubation. Keep a pillow beneath neck of the patient in order to create a sniffing position so that there is a little flexion at the head and elevation at the occiput, and that elevation is created by placing a pillow so that all the three axes, that is the oral axis, laryngeal and the pharyngeal axis, are aligned together to facilitate easy visualization of the vocal cords. Now pre-oxygenate the patient with bag and mask ventilation. Prior to intubation, the patient is typically sedated or not conscious due to illness or injury which allows the mouth or the airway to relax. Doctor who's going to insert the tube must be at head of the bed at the level of the xiphisternum looking at the patient's bed. If the patient is not sedated or unconscious, push the medications, firstly a sedative followed by a paralytic. Doing this would cost you 1 to 2 minutes, but examine that the patient is sedated, which is confirmed if he or she doesn't respond, and also make sure that the subject is paralyzed by examining laxity in their jaws, and you could also feel those muscular chill outs. Now remove the oxygen mask and take out the nasal cannula. Grab the laryngoscope with your non-dominant hand with butt of the blade at the hypothenar eminence, four fingers grabbing the attachment site and the thumb on the handle, making sure that the light of the laryngoscope is working. You may use your fingers to pull that cheek to get a nicer view of the tongue. Advance laryngoscope into the mouth through the right side of the tongue so that the tongue moves to the left. Now slightly bring the laryngoscope to the left to align at midline. Advance the blade to see the tip of the epiglottis and further advance it till the glossoepiglottic junction. Now tip of the epiglottis could be seen posterior to the back of the tongue. Advance it to the epiglottic vallecula, which I mentioned as a landmark earlier, which is lying between the epiglottis and the tongue, and this is the most important reference site since the tip of the laryngoscope has to be placed here in order to facilitate direct visualization of the glottis. With the handle of laryngoscope pointing away from you at 45 degrees, lift upwards and away. Now your laryngoscope would have successfully elevated the tongue and the epiglottis to display vocal cords and the laryngeal opening. Keep your vision fixed on the vocal cords, and now with your dominant hand insert the ET tube with the right hand side of the mouth. Do not introduce ET tube through the channel of laryngoscope, but introduce it via angle of the mouth. Advance it directly between the cords into the trachea until the cuff passes into the vocal cords. Now remove the laryngoscope and inflate the cuff to avoid air leaking during ventilation. Attach tube to the ambu bag and ventilate the patient at 12 to 15 liters per minute, or to the ventilator at 5 to 6 liters per minute. Put on the entitled CO2 detector, give a couple of breaths, and you could observe the color change from yellow to purple if the tube is positioned correctly and you are not into the esophagus. Finally, auscultate and listen to the bilateral apices of the lungs and the axilla and the epigastrium to confirm that you are hearing the breath sounds over the lung and not over the stomach. If you don't hear these sounds, remove the ET tube, reoxygenate with ambu bag, and redo the steps. Also, for a confirmation, you could take a post-intubation X-ray to make sure that you have positioned the tube correctly, and now secure the tube via using a tape or tie it around the neck. Make sure your patient has post-intubation sedation and pain control. Now pay attention to the post-intubation care. After an endotracheal tube is placed, provide continued sedation or analgesia. Administer Diprivan or Propofol. For patients less than or equal to 120 kg of body weight, begin infusion at 20 microgram per kilogram per minute. Then also administer bolus fentanyl and midazolam. Fentanyl would act as an analgesic, 25 to 100 microgram IV for 15 minutes, pro-rata, maximum 300 microgram in the first hour. You could also administer midazolam as a sedative, 1 to 4 milligram dose in IV for 15 minutes, PRN, maximum 16 milligram in the first hour.